Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajaka Charja Astotra Sata Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Parivajaka Charja Astotra Sata Shri Srimad, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Nama Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi, Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. Shri Rup, Shri Sanatan, Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal, Bhatta Das Raghunath, Sadgo Shai Prabhu Ki Jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna, Gopal Gopinath, Shyamakund Radha Kund, Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamuna Mai Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Yuga Dharma Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Transcendental Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Holy Appearance Day of Shri Varahadev Ki Jai, Shri Varahadev Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada. Jai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam tato jayomudirayet nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 15, I think. I think it was text 6, what is it? No. Yeah, I don't know, that's what's on the schedule online. No one told me otherwise. We're in Canto 9. I'm looking for the verse. I can't remember. It's, might be chapter 16. Let me see. Yeah, I think it's chapter 16, text 18 through 19. But I'm supposed to give a summary. But I don't actually know this chapter very well, so I'm just gonna read the chapter summary, if that's okay. Okay. Before we get started, I'd like to ask for the kind blessings from all the assembled Vaishnavas. It was a little spontaneous, somewhat spontaneous. I haven't had time to look at this section, so I don't know much about it. So I'm supposed to talk on Parashuram Leela when I don't know it. So, Hare Krishna. So chapter 16, Lord Parashuram destroys the world's ruling class. And would somebody like to read the introduction, Rasika? We have microphones here.
When Jamadagni was killed by the sons of Kartavirajuna, as described in this chapter, Parashuram rid the entire world of Kshatriyas 21 times. This chapter also describes the descendants of Vishvamrita. When Jamadagni's wife, Renuka, went to bring water from the Ganges and saw the king of the Gandharvas enjoying the company of Apsaras, she was captivated, and she slightly desired to associate with him. Because of this sinful desire, she was punished by her husband. Parashuram killed his mother and brothers, but later, by dint of the austerities of Jamadagni, they were revived. The sons of Kartavirajuna, however, remembering the death of their father, wanted to take revenge against Lord Parashuram. And therefore, when Parashuram was absent from the ashram, they killed Jamadagni, who was meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Parashuram returned to the ashram and saw his father killed, he was very sorry. And after asking his brothers to take care of the dead body, he went out with determination to kill all the Kshatriyas on the surface of the world. Taking up an axe, he went to Mahashmatipura, the capital of Kartavirajuna, and killed all of Kartavirajuna's sons, whose blood became a great river. Parashuram, however, was not satisfied with killing only the sons of Kartavirajuna. Later, when the Kshatriyas became disturbing, he killed them. He killed them 21 times, so that there were no Kshatriyas on the surface of the earth. Thereafter, Parashuram joined the head of his father to the dead body and performed various sacrifices to please the Supreme Lord. Thus Jamadagni got life again in his body, and later he was promoted to the higher planetary system known as Saptatarshi Mandala. Parashuram, the son of Jamadagni, still lives in Mahendra Parvata. In the next Manvantara, he will become a preacher of Vedic knowledge. In the dynasty of Gadhi, the most powerful, Vishvamrita took birth. By dint of his austerity and penance, he became a Brahmana. He had 101 sons who were celebrated as the Maruchandas. In the sacrificial arena of Harishchandra, the son of Ajigartha, named Sunapshepa, was meant to be sacrificed. But by the mercy of the Prajapatis, he was released. Thereafter, he became Devarata in the dynasty of Gadhi. The 50 elder sons of Vishvamrita, however, did not accept Shunashepa as their elder brother, and therefore Vishvamrita cursed them to become Mlechas, unfaithful to the Vedic civilization. Vishvamrita's 51st son, along with his younger brothers, then accepted Shunapshepa as their eldest brother, and their father Vishvamrita, being satisfied, blessed them. Thus Devavrata was accepted in the dynasty of Kaushika, and consequently there are different divisions of that dynasty.
Okay, and then text 18 and 19. I'll read 18 and then 19 will be on the board. Tadraktena nadim goram abramanya bayavaham hitum kritva pritrivadam shatre mangalakarini. And 19. Tri sapta kritva pritivim kritva nikshatriyam prabhu samanta panchake chakre shonito dan hridan nava. And you guys can repeat. Oh yeah, it's we're doing the second verse, 19. Tri sapta kritva pritivim kritva nikshatriyam prabhu samanta panchake chakre shonito dan hridanava. Tri sapta kritva pritivim kritva nikshatriyam prabhu samanta panchake chakre shonito dan hridanava. Okay, that's everybody? Would you like to? Okay. All right, go to the word for word then. I guess do all of them. Tat raktena, by the blood of the sons of Kartaviryarjuna. Nadim, a river. Goram, fierce. Abramanya baya avaham, causing fear to the kings who had no respect for Brahminical culture. Hetum, cause. Kritva, accepting. Pitrivadam, the killing of his father. Shatre, when the whole royal class, Amangala Karini, was acting very inauspiciously, Tri Sapta Kritva, 21 times, Prithivim, the entire world, Kritva, making, Nikshatriyam, without a Kshatriya dynasty, Prabhu, the Supreme Lord, Parashurama, Samanta Panchake, at the place known as Samanta Panchaka, Chakre, he made, Shonita Udan, filled with blood instead of water, Hradan, lakes, Nava, 9. Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. With the blood of the bodies of these sons, Lord Parashurama created a ghastly river, which brought great fear to the kings who had no respect for Brahminical culture. Because the Kshatriyas, the men of power and government, were performing sinful activities, Lord Parashurama, on the plea of retaliating for the murder of his father, rid all the Kshatriyas from the face of the earth 21 times. Indeed, in the place known as Samanta Panchaka, he created 9 lakes filled with their blood. Okay, purport. Somebody like to read the purport?
Parashurama is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his eternal mission is Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkritam, to protect the devotees and annihilate the miscreants. To kill all the sinful men is one among the tasks of the incarnation of Godhead. Lord Parashurama killed all the Kshatriyas 21 times consecutively because they were disobedient to the Brahminical culture. That the Kshatriyas had killed his father was only a plea. The real fact is that because the Kshatriyas, the ruling class, had become polluted, their position was inauspicious. Brahminical culture is enjoined in the Shastra, especially in Bhagavad Gita, Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. According to the laws of nature, whether at the time of Parashurama or at the present, if the government becomes irresponsible and sinful, not caring for Brahminical culture, there will certainly be an incarnation of God like Parashuram to create a devastation by fire, famine, pestilence, or some other calamity. Whenever the government disrespects the supremacy of the personality of Godhead and fails to protect the institution of Varnashrama Dharma, it will certainly have to face such catastrophes as formerly brought about by Lord Parashuram.
Jai. Om Jnana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmalitam Gena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Tarine. Okay. So, Parashuram Leela. This is something that stands out to me in this is the amount of like offenses and just back and forth revenge, or there's a lot of killing in this section. The father of Kartavir Yarjuna, he stole the cow of Jamadagni, and Parashuram went and killed him and got it back. And then the sons were angry at him, so out of revenge they went and murdered Parashuram's father. And before that, Parashuram's wife became bewildered by lust and was attracted by the king of the Gandharvas, or Gandharva king, and then because she missed the time of sacrifice because she was there absorbed in thinking about this king, when she got back, Jamadagni was able to perceive, and said he perceived the adultery in her mind, and told his sons he ordered them to kill her. And two of his sons were like, I'm not going to do that. I think it was two sons. And then he told Parshuram, he cursed, he told Parshuram to kill all of them. He said, kill your brothers and your mother. And Parshuram, he's a Shakti Vaishavatar. He also has extremely sharp intelligence and faith that he immediately, without flinching, he did it. He killed them both with the understanding that his father was a great tapasvi. He was very advanced in the yogic process, and he had the power by austerity to revive his brothers and his mother. So once he did that and followed the order of his father very strictly, his father gave him a benediction, asked him what he wanted, and Parshuram said that basically he asked that his mother and his brothers be revived and not remember anything, not remember having been killed. And that's what his father bestowed that benediction, and they came back to life as if awaking from a deep sleep. So yeah, the prowess of Parshuram is exhibited there in that critical time. It's to think and to be able to make a decision like that is extremely, it's impressive to be able to, in such an intense situation, make the right decision. Arjuna was placed into a similar situation after the Battle of Kurukshetra, when his wife, I'm really bad at Leela, so it's hard for me to remember all the details of things, but I think it was Ashwatthama. I think Ashwatthama or something. He had killed the sons of, I don't remember all the details. Draupadi, yeah. And then Arjuna had promised Draupadi that she would bathe or shower standing on his head, bathe standing on the head of Ashwatthama. That he would murder him for her, and then I think it was Krishna who told him not to do it, or no, she told him not to do it, and Krishna, and I think it was Bhima, was also kind of behind it, that I do it. I don't remember all the details, but basically he was in the situation that he was pulled and had to make a decision on what to do, and he takes shelter of Krishna in the heart and just knew exactly what he needed to do to alleviate the situation in a very expert way. So the devotees, they have this capacity to take shelter of the Lord and take the inspiration, and can act in wonderful ways, and can be perceived as exhibiting mystic potencies because they're taking shelter of the supreme mystic, Krishna, the super soul. And like that, devotees are considered to be expert. And Parashuram especially, because he's a Shakti Vaishavatar, he's not a normal personality. But I was thinking that this pastime especially, it just highlights that the need to, basically get done what we need to get done here and get out, because the material world is, especially this time now, it is more so just a very dangerous situation for anybody. How easily we can make offenses to others, and how easily we just get entangled in material complexities, bashing and then really, what is that word? I guess fighting back and forth, always going back and forth about something, defending and being on the offense. And that's just the situation in the material world. Everybody is out to kill everybody else, to get on top, to defeat or to protect. And it's seen even in the life of the Brahminical class, Jamadagni and Parshuram. They had to go through these same things, and what to speak of us at this present time. The vices of Kali Yuga are constantly speaking for myself, constantly weighing on the consciousness, constantly pulling for engagement, lust, anger, greed, envy, malice, these qualities that just cause one to be offensive to others and cause one to forget their prime duty, which is to always remember Krishna and never forget him. And instead we get entangled on surface issues, things that are very minute in the ultimate sense. We are meant to be engaged spiritually, engaged on the transcendental platform, but instead, because of our attachment to the qualities of the material energy, we pitter-patter back and forth with mundane topics and mundane things, arguments. He said, she said, all these different things that go on, and we never actually, I can't say never, because being practicing devotees, we do at times taste transcendental happiness, engaging in the devotional service, but it's easy to forget and get stuck on that platform again, which keeps us on the surface and keeps us from going deeper into actually what the purpose of what we're doing here is. And especially it was mentioning how the Kshatriyas here, the Kshatriyas were all degraded at that time. I don't know the details, so I can't really even go into that direction, but they weren't leading the people properly, and in essence that means they weren't leading people toward self-realization or God consciousness. There was a misdirected society, and today we are especially feeling the thralls of a misdirected society. Everything is very topsy-turvy. There's wars, there is famine, there's extreme natural disasters, there's extreme natural resource depletion, and if not just depletion, but being taken control of and capitalized upon by persons who have motives, selfish motives, that don't actually want to care for the people. These things which are meant to be naturally occurring and naturally free for all living entities are now being taken and sectioned out and charged, and basically everybody's being charged to partake in what is actually naturally meant for us to survive. It's like water. We have to pay for a bottled water when it's not natural to do that. We should be able to drink the water from the streams or from the ground very easily. But the system's been developed by degraded societies, by degraded rulers, that now the groundwater is polluted and the rivers are even more polluted. And so many warnings that say if you drink these things you'll become very sick, and it's experienced that people do drink them and they become sick. So it's a fact that they are polluted and degraded at this time. And now and basically all of society is being cornered to become completely dependent on degraded persons for their sustenance. Nobody knows how to survive by their own sustainable means. They can't provide for themselves food or water. We can't do that ultimately anyway, but we could in previous ages, tap into the natural resources and survive. So when this happens, it's an extremely sinful situation. It's extremely degraded, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead intervenes in order to help his living entities, help his devotees to have a situation that's more peaceful, to engage in his devotional service. And here the example was very vivid of Lord Parshuram slaughtering the kingly class, the Kshatriya class, 21 generations. He was piling heads up, and rivers of blood were flowing. I can't imagine that. That's pretty hardcore. But Srila Prabhupada says that according to the laws of nature, whether at the time of Parshuram or at the present, if the government becomes irresponsible and sinful, not caring for Brahminical culture, there will certainly be an incarnation of God, like Parashurama, to create a devastation by fire, famine, pestilence, or some other calamity. So we have all of these things going on, and we see them occasionally in America, but definitely other parts of the world are experiencing them to very extreme degrees. But it's only time until it's happening in America. A lot of times we hear these things, and because it's pretty cushy, we forget that this place is extremely dangerous and extremely, basically everything is trying to kill us here, and including our own mind, our mind especially, and the mind is manifesting so many things outside of us that are also trying to kill us by other living entities and nature, other living entities, concoctions of their minds. But yeah, so I don't know that verse. Padam padam vipadam. It's danger at every step, and because we're not directly faced with that danger, maybe to a very high degree, we may think, oh yeah, it's dangerous, but I'll carry on with my day-to-day. I like my peanut butter and jelly sandwich and hang out on the couch. But we have to. There's an urgency, actually, to be fixed in Krishna consciousness, to be reinstated in that spiritual position in relationship with the Lord, and it's very extreme, actually. We need to take shelter of the Lord constantly, because at any moment we can lose this life, this material body, this opportunity that we have, and then we'll have to take another birth. And then, whether or not we're thinking about Krishna, that's up. I don't know. That's kind of an individual thing, but it's best not to chance it. We can expect the mercy of the Lord, but still, our mind, if we're not pure, if we're not on the transcendental platform and we leave the body, and our mind still has a predominance on our decisions, then in our next life we may not really want to take it up so much, or we may not have that. We may have to go through a lot more purification before we actually enter into the process again. So it's best to just get it done. Srila Prabhupada gave us that direction. He said, just finish up in one lifetime and get out of here. So we're not really trying to procrastinate and take the long path. We want to get it done, and that takes an intense desire. It takes actually it being our only desire, and giving up attachment to mundane sense gratification and desires for such things. And my spiritual master, he gives an example of this urgency, especially in our devotional community. We should be cultivating this, and it's especially cultivated by going out on book distribution or going out and speaking to people, because we get firsthand experience how people are suffering so severely, But he gives the example of, if you're outside and all of a sudden it just starts hailing, it's a huge hailstorm, baseball, golf ball sized hail, and it's like, what do? And you run. You just run for shelter. It doesn't matter which direction. You don't even look. You just go. Shishirada Nila Madhava Ki Jai. Shishirada Giridhara Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Shinitai Gaur Chandra Nitai Chaitanya Chandra Ki Jai. And so that's the attitude that we have to have when the mind presents any kind of nonsense, any kind of distraction. We have to just run to Krishna, just run for shelter. Whether that be chanting his names, calling out on the names of the pure devotees, or even our Shiksha, Diksha gurus, it's like we have to take shelter of these personalities and the Supreme Lord, whether it be opening the book and just reading something. It doesn't matter, that you start at the beginning or end. If the mind is attacking or something is causing disturbance and we're feeling disturbed, then we just open it up and just start reading, because it's absolute. It doesn't matter where we start, it's going to address the situation. So that's the urgency that we have to have, and it's for myself, I'm experiencing it's a gradual progression of taking shelter like that, and then perceiving the necessity of it, and that anything other than taking shelter like that is simply the cause of suffering. It's causing, lackadaisical, being lackadaisical, lazy, absent-minded, so many things that are distracting us from the sound vibration of Krishna's names and of Krishna Katha. And according to Srila Prabhupada, and it's also in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that the perfection of our life is simply to hear Krishna Katha in the association of devotees. So it's so simple. That's the perfection of our life, is simply to hear this message. And it's the mind and the senses which are pulling us because of ill training, because we've for lifetimes cultivated a mentality of sense gratification, selfishness. We are pulled by those things. We on one level of our being, we desire those things, and we think that sense gratification is going to make me happy, and therefore I feel pulled this way and that way because I'm not actually ready to take shelter of Krishna. I still want to take shelter of sense gratification. So that's our situation, and we have to learn to recognize that that mentality is our enemy. It's like initiation, Guru Maharaj very emphatically said, it's a war against Maya, and it's intense. It's not something that just we coast through, but we have to really take shelter and battle it out. And that means those mentalities have to be uprooted by strong association with persons who have uprooted that mentality, by long association with the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and the holy names. And and that's the process. It's very simple. It's just staying in that association and just being very sincere that I have these things and I want to relinquish them from my heart, and I'm going to engage in the process to do that. And then when Parshuram comes again, we won't have to get chopped. We won't have to get killed because we've taken shelter. So it's like we're either on one side or the other. We're on the side of the demons or we're on the side of the devotees. And we should try to be on the winning side, because where it says the end of the Bhagavad Gita, wherever there is Krishna, the supreme archer, and wherever there is Arjuna, the supreme archer, and Krishna, the supreme mystic, there's always victory, morality, victory, and good fortune. I can't remember the quote. But anyway, Krishna's got the winning side, so we should always pick his side. Otherwise, we're going to get smashed sooner or later. And that mentality that's holding us back, it's going to get smashed. So if we grab onto that as our shelter, then it's just going to cause us degradation. And anyway, any thoughts or questions at this point? I'm trying to go here.
You've kind of already mentioned it, but I thought maybe you could comment a little bit on how to increase that sense of urgency. What are some practical ways?
Oh yeah, I think I was going in that direction and I didn't fully get into it, but
you did talk about it, but I thought it'd be nice to hear. One
surefire way that helps Oh yeah, I was saying on book distribution, we get the first-hand experience of the people. So there's other ways. I'm going to mention this one specifically, because first it brings out a sense of compassion, and that compassion I've seen really grows and expands into a sense of urgency, that we have to be on top of our game to combat against the material energy. We have to, just as everybody on the material platform is single-pointed attention, their full intelligence is absorbed in propagating and expanding material culture. We have to be in the same way, single-pointed attention, full intelligence involved in expanding and developing the spiritual culture of Krishna consciousness in the world. And we see it. It's like one time we were on book distribution, and there was a guy. He came and he was just shaking. He's like, he was so happy to see the books. He was really interested. But he's like, man, I just got off heroin 3 weeks ago. And he was like, these people are suffering so badly, but they're still, they see this stuff and they see it as a shelter and they can take it and they're interested. And it's like, we don't know the difficulties that people are going through. And a lot of them are going through them alone because the culture of society is that we don't open up and share these things with anybody. So people just suffer on their own quietly, and then, nobody has the ability or the strength of heart to even, well, not nobody, that's a general statement, but most people don't have the ability to, communicate and help other people. And especially with spiritual knowledge, very rarely does anybody have knowledge that will actually help somebody. So, in one sense, without going out and seeing these people and recognizing that the only opportunity for them to be happy is if they get transcendental knowledge, if they get Krishna consciousness. And then we realize that, it's only going to happen if we ourselves individually take it up to go out and do that and find a means to share that with somebody, because otherwise people are just going to keep suffering. That's what the material world is for. But it alleviates the anxiety of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu if we go out and make an effort and give people the opportunity, which is being born at this time. Everybody's been initiated into the holy names. Everybody is qualified to take them, so we should be ready to give them to anybody. And another means is, like I mentioned earlier, associating with devotees who have that taste, and especially those who have that intensity. They're very focused. If the focus is refined, then when we associate with those persons, we start to tune in and see what is actually important for us to focus on. And then we can, that's another stage, that's the process of anarta and vritti. We begin to remove so many unwanted things that we shouldn't be focusing on, things that are actually slowing us down in our devotional process, our devotional practice. So, yeah, association with focused and serious devotees, and association with the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srila Prabhupada, in every purport, in all these places, he is calling out for us. He's calling us and pleading for us to not only recognize what he's presenting for ourselves, but also recognize the importance of giving it to everybody else. That this isn't like I'm happy with my Srimad Bhagavatam and everybody else can just go to hell. But we have to go and see that they're going to hell and they need the Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore we should give them the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and the message Srila Prabhupada is presenting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Bravo.
Hare Krishna.
I'm just really appreciating your sense of urgency this realized sense of urgency that you're conveying, because it shows that you've taken seriously that it's an urgent situation, that we need to focus on it. Not just focus on it, but make it our whole life at every moment. And anyway, what came to mind was the thing that I heard from Prabhupada 2 days ago, that there's these parallel lines of, okay, you have to hear and chant and do the positives and avoid this other parallel line of avoiding sense gratification at all costs. And then that that we have agency to do both of those things, and we need to fully use our full free will to engage in both of those things to the absolute degree. So thanks for the class.
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, I've noticed if the focus is too much on avoiding sense gratification, of course we do avoid the four regulative principles. We follow the four regulative principles, but avoid those prohibited activities. And but in general, devotees are a lot of times pretty pure. So what they see as sense gratification is like grabbing an extra piece of halava or too many gulab jamuns, and of course at the root it's the same thing, but it's being dovetailed in devotional service by taking Krishna prasadam, or it's like you said, the positive. We have to engage in Krishna consciousness, and that really makes it a blissful thing, because if the mentality is simply on restriction, that I have to, cut myself off from all this sense gratification. It's like it's something that I want, but I've just got to stop myself from it. But actually, it's the fact of the matter is that the soul doesn't want that. It's not natural. It's not pleasing at all. So let's engage in that thing which is actually pleasing, which is Krishna consciousness. And, yeah. Did you have a question? No. Anyway, anything else?
Can I add a little bit by?
Yes, please.
Here about the process of hearing, and it's we're in the second canto in our attending the daily readings every day as an ashram, and over and over and over again, Srila Prabhupada is just pounding away at the necessity of hearing the sound vibration of Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of the devotees, and preferably from the lips of someone who is elevated in Krishna consciousness. And often we wonder why we don't have that urgency, or we're not motivated in our Krishna consciousness. Or we say, well, I lack taste, I have no taste. And but all of these things come from actually hearing the sound vibration of the name, form, pastimes, qualities of the Lord. And it's really quite simple. So I often like to encourage young men that if you're having listlessness, or you seem to not have a sense of motivation from within, you're either not hearing enough, or you're not hearing properly, or you're hearing from the wrong source, or you've created an offense, which is, can happen, it does happen, but it's usually the other things, having to do with hearing. That if we truly desire to go back to Godhead and take as many people with us as we possibly can, then we would line our life up with hearing as much as we possibly can, because it's that hearing that actually turns the switch on within us, purifies us of the attachment to the modes, and actually fans the spark, gets the fire blazing. So it's really that simple. We have a tendency to think, well, there's got to be something else that's just really simple, Isn't there something I have to do to fix myself, or, there's got to be something more. But it really is that simple. It's a matter of stopping the hamster wheel in the head, and simply opening one's heart and mind to the sound vibration of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Wow.
As much as possible. Thank you.
Jai. Yeah, it's simple and pure, the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I reflected in our reading the other day as well, but in the 9th chapter, Srila Prabhupada says That, faith is that it's a trust that, I can give up all my other activities, all my other things, and simply engage in serving Krishna, and everything will be taken care of. That's real faith. That Krishna says it in the Bhagavad Gita, give sarvadharam prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Give up all these speculated dharmas, all these things we've created, these duties we've created for ourselves, and just take shelter of him. Follow his instruction. His instruction is to hear from him, and serve him, act in devotional service. But especially hearing his message, the message from his devotees, is so profoundly purifying. It's like our hearts are just completely filthy, and just by adding Krishna conscious, Krishna kata, it's like we're just pouring in this purifying nectar, and without any other endeavor, without any endeavor to pull out the dirt, it just is automatically flushed out. Especially if we hear with this attitude of, one, submissiveness, but also with a desire to think, how can I share this with somebody else? That creates a sense of active hearing, that we're hearing this so I can also imbibe it and share it with somebody. And that kind of increases the acuteness, or the quality of our hearing by doing that. Jai. That's all I've got for today. Thank you so much for listening, tolerating, and Hare Krishna. Please bless me and forgive me for all my offenses. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.